Superman's very first comic book appearance is among a collection of rare comics that's about to go on a worldwide tour. The Impossible Collection, as it's called, comprises thousands of original and first edition copies of DC Comics featuring many of the iconic superhero characters. It's a collection that's quite unprecedented, offering the chance to see a breadth and depth of books in amazing condition. Well, I'm pleased to say that I'm joined by two of the curators from the exhibition, Vincent Zazzolo and Stephen Fischler, and I'm going to welcome you both now. This collection is huge, and what makes it extraordinary is it all is one collector's piece. So how did this come about?
Well, it started actually 16 years ago, and it didn't start out as a collection meant to build the greatest collection of comic books. It just started out as somebody's interest in comic books and passion for comic books, and we started very slowly, and 16 years later realized we had amassed this massive collection and wanted to share it with the world. The idea here is not so much that these comic books have such great value, but the impact that they've had on society over the past 7-8 decades. The idea that superheroes fight for good, and in today, more now than ever, we feel like that's a really important thing to share with people and to get out as a message to people.
Stephen, 16 years, it's a long time. Is that quite a unique thing to see something take so long when you're coming to put curations together?
Well, it takes obviously a lot of vision, a lot of discipline to say, I have such an interest in amassing these historically important artifacts of the past. And the discipline is to keep doing it because you have a goal in mind, which is putting together a fantastic collection simply because of the love of comic books and the impact that these books have had. This collection has literally gathered books from all over the world into the hands of one person. The amount of work, the amount of effort that it takes to reassemble a collection like this is very considerable. And in today's world where comic books are not being printed anymore, yet the characters are worldwide iconic characters, creates a great demand for the books that they first appeared in, in the 1930s and the 1940s. Books of great value, of great rarity. And it's amazing for us on a personal level, having had these books, one off here, a few here, to finally see them in one place is for me is impressive, just as a fan of comic books, to see what has been built in one place. There
are so many of those as well. We'll have fans that will have squirreled away comics over the years, but shed some light on this collector in particular.
So the collector has a passion for this type of material. This is the DC chapter of the collection. It is basically, now we're going to be focused on the DC chapter, and maybe later on we'll be focused on the Marvel chapter. But the DC chapter right now is the one that's on display. It is going to be touring starting in London at a time to be announced later on through Vero, which is true to life social media, and that's going to be a great place for people to get the information about this when it becomes public.
Can you say who the collector is?
At the current time, I think he's really doesn't want the focus on him. He wants to focus on the collection, so his name is not being revealed at this time.
There are some really rare special comics in this collection, not to mention how valuable they are, including, I think it's the first appearance of Superman in a comic, isn't it?
Well, this book here is the very first appearance, June 1938. Before this book hit the newsstand, there was no such thing as a superhero. Two boys named Siegel and Schuster had the idea of a super-powered person from another planet. Obviously, it came out in the form of a comic book. They sold the rights to the character to DC Comics for $260. And Superman has since become a worldwide phenomenon. And there's a reason that this character has really resonated. The real world is very complex and a lot of gray areas. Superman is very clear-cut. There's the battle between good and evil. So obviously, if a character is going to succeed, there's a reason for that. And Superman is the very first superhero and probably the most popular of all.
And the actual original that you would be holding in your hands if you could, how much did that go for?
This book here, which is the highest graded Action One from June 38 went for well over $3 million.
Wow. We talk about an obsession with comic books. I think that's clear to see. We've got the release of Batman versus Superman coming out. That must help your collection as well.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you're hoping to capitalise on? You've got
so
Batman
here we
there.
got
Is it on
Batman
cue?
versus Superman. So Batman first appeared in 1939 in Detective Comics 27, and you can even see when you look at his cape in the beginning, Bob Kane, the creator, was inspired by Leonardo da Vinci's glider. So you can see the inspiration. He took things from all different parts of history and created this crime fighter. They had Superman and they needed another character. So Bob Kane and Bill Finger and Dick Sprang and Jerry Robinson, they created the pantheon of characters in the Batman universe. And now we have this fantastic movie that's going to be premiering with Batman versus Superman.
And how much do you think this entire collection would be worth?
I think the collection's actually priceless. And the reason I say that is because amassing it, yeah, you could say this comic is worth this comic is worth that. But when you put it all together in one collection and realize the importance that it has and the value it has not only as an investment collectible, but in terms of what it can help do and with being exposed to a greater number of people through the exhibits, it really is a priceless collection.
Part of the beauty of this exhibition is going to be nostalgia for fans. I just wondered what your take is on going forwards. We live in a digital world, don't we? Do you think the comic book will eventually become extinct?
Well, I think that there is an intense fascination with these characters and trying to understand and get a sense of where they began. I think for a lot of people today, knowing that these characters had their roots in the 1960s and the 1940s and 1930s, it's like literally a history lesson. So I do think that there is intense interest in these characters. There's intense interest in owning the sort of like a piece of the past, sometimes for investment, sometimes just for the pride of ownership and having something of great rarity. These books were printed in limited numbers. People threw them out at the time. Kids read them, and they went into the garbage, or their mother threw them out. So now what you have is a great value of historical impact, and I think that these characters will be around for many years, and people will always be interested in acquiring how these characters originally began.
Lovely. Well, Stephen and Vincent, thank you very much for joining us to talk about it, and all the best with the exhibition. We hope it goes down well.
Thank you.
Sure it will do.